My role as a coach really focused on collaborating and supporting the district staff in using the CAR framework. We really started with first setting some common language and having clear instructional framework that they would work within in Readers and Writers Workshop. From there, we really wanted to see how do we have a viable curriculum that they're going to work and teach with. So we focused on first bringing teachers, administrators, and the instructional coaches together to really break down the standards into what kids know and need to be able to do. From there, we wanted to see how do they master it. So how do we have clear formative assessments that teachers can reflect back on and really see where are the gaps in students' learning, and then where have they done really well? And then what are we going to do about it as teachers, and how do we change that? That was the main push that I had working in Trenton, really helping them to start that process and really begin to have more of a professional learning community where their teachers aren't just getting standards, but they're really focused on understanding them and really knowing how to teach them before moving forward. So that really begins with the unpacking the standards process that we went through. The benefits of using the Connect to Action Roadmap really focus first on having teachers have meaningful discussions in their grade level meetings, taking the time to look at the student work and really be able to break down what students aren't achieving and what students are doing, and then also having just normative processes in general. They're able to look at how they score the student work, what kind of feedback they would give, and then also what instructional strategies a teacher might have done really well with, what instructional strategies might they want to change or try again. I see professional learning changing as implementing the CAR framework as more of making it more meaningful for teachers, spending their time in grade level meetings really analyzing their work and thinking about their teaching practice and then how will that affect their lesson plans is the most meaningful kind of professional learning that you can get. Really hearing from a teacher and observing them say, like, how did your students do that so well? What can we do different? What can I do differently? Can you show me what you tried with that? And building that sort of climate and rapport that is more focused on our students and our kids compared to anything else. And I think that that's the amount of time that we need to give more of for our teachers and see how we can really grow the communities across the grade level teams, especially when thinking about how they can inform their planning from that process. And even, for example, when they began to unpack the standards working together in Trenton, they really focused on understanding what the standards meant and then how would they teach with it, even down to the fact of, if I know that this is what my kids are going to need to be able to do, where's the best way of teaching this and how can I integrate that across the curriculum? It's not just a writing standard that has to be done in writing workshop. I can really incorporate this into other avenues, and teachers began to have that dialogue that some of these speaking and listening standards, we could do fantastic things with morning meeting in our early grades, and it could really begin to grow. And I think that that led teachers to understand that this isn't just something to do so you put it on a template and you hand it to the board. It's something that's for you. And I think that for me, more of seeing teachers have that discussion was one of the highlights of my job working with teachers. I think that a clear message needs to be present to ensure that the Connected Active Roadmap is done and done well. I mean clear messaging not just from leadership teams and district teams. I feel like it has to be the whole school community. Teachers need to be aware of it, and it needs to be something that started at the beginning of the school year and then also revisited, because I know as observing and seeing schools, there's so much that goes on, and I feel like there's a lot of times that additional things feel like they pile up on your plate, but you have to really stay consistent and focus on what matters and then come back and celebrate the small wins that you find. So if you're seeing a great grade level meeting, you're going back with your staff and you're really celebrating the fact that you're seeing them really break their student work down, you're seeing the progress, and you're seeing it in their classrooms. Tying in, seeing the walkthrough data, if you're walking through the classrooms and you're seeing growth and you're knowing that they reflected on that in PLCs and you see a change in instructional practice, make sure that they know about it. And I think that on the leadership end, ensuring being an advocate and almost a cheerleader for the process, because it's not going to be easy and it's not going to go well all the time. And I think that coming back to it I think is one of the most important things, that it doesn't just fizzle out. And when you're thinking about ensuring that this is done well, it's really focused on what matters. So the student work and the student achievement. So coming together as a group and knowing that we're here for the right reason, and we're going to focus and allocate our time in the right manner, and we're going to be working for kids. And it's a continuous cycle of improvement that takes time, and it's going to be a process, but I think over time and growth, it will begin to grow. From my observations and working with districts, I really feel that leaders, if they want to implement CAR well, they're going to have to really commit to clear messaging and consistency, and really having a shared understanding across their staff. Also, a big thing that they need to do is focusing on providing the time for teachers to really focus on the student work, looking at their curriculum, and then giving the job-embedded training that they need when they identify gaps in their instructional practice. I think really it's coming back to it over and over again, because new messaging sometimes will die out because there's so much going on in the school year. And being able to come back to that in staff meetings, being able to have teachers be able to talk about it, and then also celebrating the wins and the successes that you get to see happening in your school, that will really grow this process. I think we underestimate the power of small wins a lot, and I really believe that as you see teachers having great grade level meetings and you see student and practice increase, celebrate that across your team, and because there's a shared ownership across all your students. If grade 4 is doing better, the entire grade 4 is doing better, and really thinking about your school as a whole.